Hi, welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I'm also going to do a general mid-year wrap-up and a currently reading is that a wrap-up? Whatever. I'm going to tell you what I'm currently reading because I'm reading a lot of different things at once. But without further ado, let's just get straight into it. I do want to apologize for the lighting. The sun has already gone down. I'm making the most of what I've got. I'm using my camera's auto color correction thing. So like, I don't know if this is alright, but I'm working with what I've got. So let's get into it. So the first question of the tag is, what is the best book you've read this year? I don't actually own a physical copy of this book and a lot of the books that I'm going to be mentioning, so I'll just put a photo up here. But the best book I've read this year is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I had heard really good things about this book and I was kind of worried that it was going to be a disappointment, but it was absolutely incredible. Definitely deserves the hype that it's got and more. Yeah, I don't hear as many people talking about it anymore. When it first came out, people were definitely talking about it more, there was a bit more buzz, but yeah, it was really good. And I'm really interested in reading Aiden Thomas's new book that has either just come out or is coming out. It's something about woods, Into the Woods, the something wood. But yeah, I thought that book had really great representation. I feel like I learnt a lot from that book, not only about culture, but like gender, and it was really good. I really liked that the story wasn't so much about the main character coming out or struggling with his identity, but it was kind of just a part of the character, and it did have to do with the plot of the story, but it also like didn't. Like, there was a plot on its own, but the kind of issues around gender were worked in really well. I'm not qualified to talk about this, but I think it had great representation. So yeah. The next question is, what is the best sequel you have read this year? And I feel like it probably goes without saying, Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I love Cassandra Clare's writing. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about Cassandra Clare, mainly because of the Mortal Instruments. And don't get me wrong, the Mortal Instruments is not my favourite thing in the world, but I think Cassandra Clare has created a lot of really interesting stories and characters. I don't really want to get into that. That's a conversation on its own, and now's not the time for it. But Chain of Iron was incredible. I was kind of hesitant going into the last hours. I remember when Chain of Gold came out, I was kind of nervous, but I love it. I love the characters. I think that it's one of the best kind of cohesive large groups of characters. They all feel really fleshed out and they're somehow all individual but also like a part of a team that like works so well in my mind. I love them. I love all the different storylines happening. Yeah, I actually listened to the audiobook of Chain of Iron and it was really lovely. I listened to it while I was on a holiday and it really like kind of encapsulated that trip for me. Yeah, I thought it was incredible. I love this book. I love the characters. The ending, no spoilers, but whew, the ending gave me some emotions. I think if you've read this book, like, you know what I'm talking about. There were actually a lot of moments like this in the book. I want to try and mention the scenes, but like not spoil them. There was a scene in the sanctuary, the part of the institute where the Downworlders can go. Oh my god, that scene emotionally just like, that scene just like, ooh, it hurt me, but like in a good way. In like a cool way. And the end. Oh my god, the end! I need to not talk about it. Yeah. I feel like once my friends read this, I have a couple of friends that are in the middle of it at the moment, I'm going to be talking about it non-stop because I'll have somebody to talk to about it. Anyway, I'm gonna move on because I have talked about this book for too long. The next question is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to. And for me, that is You Will Get Through This Night by Danielle Howell. My friend actually got this for me. She ordered me a copy. It's signed, oh, there's a bookmark. It's signed, that made me very happy. Yes, I was one of those Dan and Phil kids. Yes, I am also mentally ill and my friend keeps making jokes about the fact that, like, I need it. And, like, she's not wrong. I do need it right now, especially. I really want to get to this book, not only because it's Dan Howell and, like, I've been following him for so long, but, I could use the advice. I know that some people don't like it when you joke about your mental health, but it's a coping mechanism and I'm coping. Did I have a bit of a meltdown today? Yes. Look, I could use the advice is all I'm saying. I'm moving on. The fourth question is your most anticipated book for the next half of the year. I have two. Well, I have more than two, but I'm going to mention two. One of them actually comes out in like 3 days, so by the time this video goes up, this book will be out. But at this point, it is not. And that is Any Way the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell. It is the third book in the Carry On series, I guess. And, well, I would like to read it. I have opinions about the Carry On series. I thought the first book was pretty good. The second book was missing something for me. So I'm just looking forward to the end of the series, seeing where it goes. I mean, it is basically Drarry fanfiction, and that's probably why I enjoy it so much. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. I think that the second book ended off in an interesting place, but I'm gonna be honest, I can't remember most of the details of that book, which is why I'm currently doing a reread of the series, so. The other book that I'm really anticipating is one that I've heard a few people talking about, but I honestly thought it's the kind of thing that would get more hype. I think advanced copies are out, but I'm very intrigued about this story. And that is If This Gets Out by Cale Dietrich, and Sophie Gonzalez. It comes out in December, I think, and okay. It seems like a story that I am going to really like, but I'm hesitant because I've read one of Cale Dietrich, one of his books. I don't know how many books he has, but I was really anticipating the love interest when it was coming out, and so I read it quite quickly when it first came out, and I was really disappointed with that book. I think it had a lot of potential, that the story was like an interesting concept, but the actual like execution didn't work for me. And so I'm nervous because I feel like it's going to be a similar thing where like the concept of If This Gets Out is really intriguing to me. So I'm a bit nervous. I'm like a little nervous. So the story, from what I know, follows two members of a band who fall in love, are in a relationship, I don't know. People have definitely been talking about the parallels to a certain... People have been saying it reminds them of a certain pair of people who were in a very popular boy band. And I'm definitely getting those vibes. I don't want to say anything because I think it's wrong to kind of speculate on people's love lives, but like, I'm getting vibes, and I'm interested to see where the story takes it. Now, this next question, I don't want this to be a controversial thing, but like, we'll see. The next question is biggest disappointment, and I actually have two. Neither of these books, however, came out this year. I just happened to read them. So, the first one is The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. Now, I had read the first 2 books of the Raven Cycle a couple of years ago, but I never finished the series. I recently, this year, read the whole series and I was so disappointed in the ending. I don't think it's because I had my expectations of what would happen, but it felt kind of like she got sick of the series and just ended it. It didn't feel satisfying. It really... The feeling that I had when I finished that series was kind of reminiscent to when I used to read like fan fiction and the writer would get bored and like just end it and just be like, oh, accident happened, characters all died, whatever. Like, it didn't feel complete. But that might just be my opinion. I know there are people who love this series. It just didn't do it for me. I thought the characters were really compelling and the story was interesting. It feels unfinished, and that's quite unsatisfying. This next book is where it might get controversial, and I'm afraid to talk about it. But it is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I really loved the Grisha trilogy. Can you hear my cat walking? Her bell? Yes, honey. Hi. Yeah. Thing is, I loved the Grisha trilogy. And overall, like, I'm like, yes, the Grisha trilogy was incredible. But something about the end of the series just didn't do it for me. It felt not unfinished, but unsatisfying, maybe. Like, I think it ended the way I expected it to end, but like, it felt like it was missing something. My opinion on this might change. I'm currently reading Six of Crows and I don't know when it's set compared to the Grisha trilogy, but maybe that'll change my opinion once I know, like, you know, I've experienced more of the world. But at this point, I was just a little bit disappointed. Don't come for me. I know a lot of people are very, like, in love with that series. I liked it too. Just, I'm scared. I'm afraid of you. The next question is biggest surprise. And this is actually one of the first books I read this year, and it is Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer. Now, I have never read anything by Marissa Meyer, but I always thought of her as more of like a sci-fi fantasy kind of author, and this is very much just like rom-com contemporary. I loved it. I thought this book was really sweet. I thought the story was nice. I wasn't expecting the like almost political side of it. I don't think I expected it to be what it was. I mean, from the kind of elevator pitch, you hear that it's like, oh, suddenly this girl can give people karma, and like, that's a really cool concept. But to me, the story wasn't really about her ability. It was more about character growth, and I'm a big character-driven story person. And yeah, I think the main character went through a lot of growth. I think the love interest was really likable. This was just a really, really nice rom-com. The next question is favorite new author. And this isn't a new release, this is just a new author to me, who I've already mentioned, and that's Leigh Bardugo. Again, I loved the Grisha trilogy, and now I'm reading Six of Crows. I really enjoyed, I just had a good time. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to talk about like why I like her writing. I just do. I think she's created a really interesting world, and I'm really excited to like finish this. And by finish, I mean start, considering I've read like a few pages, but I just want to say also, I love when books have maps. I love it. Anyway, I don't really have anything to say. This question is not about this book, but I don't have anything to say about it. So like, moving on. The next question is newest fictional crush. And I'm very tempted to say The Darkling, but I don't want anyone to come for me. So let's stick with another answer and say literally every character in this book. It is what it is. Cassandra Clare writes quite compelling love interests, and basically everyone in this story has some sort of romantic plot. I love them all of them. I love them. Similarly, the next question is favorite fictional character. Again, every person from this book. All of them. I honestly don't know what to say. Maybe Alistair, if I had to pick one. I think Alistair is a really interesting character because he's kind of... I think he's maybe had the most growth out of anybody. But I love them all. James, Matthew, literally all of them. Next up is a book that made you cry, and my answer for this is a lot of them. I cry very easily, but specifically Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I don't own a physical copy, so again, photo, ow. I don't think I was expecting to be emotional for this book. And it wasn't like my favorite. I know a lot of people hold it like really high. It's like the top of their list. I found it enjoyable, but it didn't quite reach it for me. A lot of people compare it to Red, White and Royal Blue, and I think that maybe is why I didn't love it as much, because I, in my head, was comparing it to Red, White and Royal Blue, and not much stacks up for me compared to that book, I'm gonna be honest. But yes, I cried during Boyfriend Material. I was actually at work listening to the book in my earphones, which I wasn't meant to be doing, and then I got very emotional. I can't remember what point in the story it was. I just remember being like, oh my god, I'm crying at work. So yeah. The next question is a book that made you happy, and technically this is 4 books, but the Heartstopper series, I guess. Specifically Volume 4, which is the newest one to come out. I had been reading the web series on Tapas. Is that how it's pronounced? I don't know. But I had stopped and I hadn't yet read any of the content from Volume 4. So it was really interesting to read it for the first time in like the physical form. I guess the way it's now meant to be consumed. It was really adorable. I love these books for years. These have been like the happy place books that you can quickly read when you need a pick-me-up. I read them all in one day. No, 2 days. I can't remember. Yeah, 2 days, because I woke up and read the rest. But yeah, I love them. They're adorable. I think Alice Oseman does really great work in creating likable characters and kind of compelling stories. I know there has been a lot of discussion about the way that eating disorders are depicted in this series, and I don't know my opinions on that. I don't think I'm in a place to like have strong opinions about that because I haven't been affected by it, so I feel like I should take a step back from the conversation. But yeah, I like this series. I think it's cute. I don't know what else to say. It makes me happy. The next question is your most beautiful book, and I have multiple here, so. The first book is The Binding by Bridget Collins. This cover is absolutely beautiful. This was definitely a book that I bought because of the cover. I saw it on the shelf. I was at Supernova, saw it there, and I was kind of like, you're coming home with me, and then I read the back and was interested, so I was like, you're definitely coming home with me. And so now I have it. I have not yet read it, but I am wanting to. The other books with very pretty covers I have are like kind of similar. They are just kind of collections of like poems and short stories. The first one is Gothic Fantasy Epic Fantasy Short Stories. It's like shiny and gold. It's super cute. I love this kind of book. I got this one because I want to write more fantasy. A lot of the story ideas I have definitely have fantasy elements, and I don't read very much fantasy, so I thought some short stories might be good to kind of introduce me to some fantasy tropes and the way that fantasy stories are told. But yeah, it also helped that the cover was really pretty and shiny, and I'm basically a fish and I'm attracted to like shiny things. So yeah, this is a more recent buy. And with that, I also got another collection. This is Edgar Allan Poe collections. There are poems and short stories. I've been wanting to get some Poe for a while, because I mean, why not? The one thing that I was like, it has to include this for me to buy it, was the poem Annabel Lee. Is it called Annabel Lee? It is. I was introduced to Annabel Lee from Cassandra Clare's books, I think Lady Midnight or Lord of Shadows, and I'm weirdly like obsessed with that poem now. I think it's really cool. Also Criminal Minds. One of the quotes on Criminal Minds was in her sepulchre by the sea or something like that. But yeah, another nice and shiny book. I like it. I like shiny things. Also it has like a raven on the spine. I don't know. I thought it, look, I'm really easy to please when it comes to book covers. The last question are, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have many, so I'm going to show them all to you separately. So I recently got a new bookshelf, which is this one right here, which is like one of those cube shelves. And so I have a new like sorting system. So the top 2 cubes have books that I am currently reading and want to read next. So I have a shelf of books that I'm currently reading and a shelf of books that I would like to read soon. It's kind of my TBR, my more specific TBR of physical books. A book that I have recently added, as in like 2 days ago, is The Cursed Child. I have very strong opinions on The Cursed Child. I read it when it came out, like not long after it came out, and oh boy, I have opinions. I have very strong opinions about Harry Potter in general and J.K. Rowling. I'm not going to get into that right now. All I'm going to say is, please respect trans people. Oh my god, it's not that hard. J.K. Rowling, what the hell? Anyway, I would like to reread The Cursed Child because I'm going to see it next month. I'm very excited. I'm like very excited. My friend called me one day. I was having dinner. My brother picked up his phone. I heard it was his friend. My brother's friend is actually my best friend's brother. And so he was on the phone, and then my phone rang and it was my friend. And I was like, hello? Your brother's on the phone with my brother right now. What's going on? And she was just like, hey, we're thinking of going to The Cursed Child. Wanna come? Like, you guys can come with us? My brother's not coming, so I'm just gonna hang out with my friend and her brother. But yeah, I'm very excited. I did not like The Cursed Child. Reading it, it was not a great experience. I'm constantly talking about the quote, like, wow, Squeak, my geekness is a-quivering, because I can't believe that line was published. But that being said, I've heard that it's a lot better when you actually watch it. Apparently the production is very good. I sure hope so. So, as I said earlier, I was going to tell you what I'm currently reading. I'm currently reading One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Very excited about this book. Ever since it was announced, I've been like waiting for this book to come out. The day I bought it was like so excited. And I'm enjoying it so far. I'm maybe doing a reading vlog of it. I haven't really decided yet. I'm only a few chapters in at this point. I'm also rereading Carry On by Rainbow Rowell to prepare for Every Way the Wind Blows, Any Way the Wind Blows, that book. I am also rereading Lord of Shadows, but I have put that off because I'm not emotionally prepared to read the ending of that book again, even though I've read it like a few times already. But like, I haven't been ready for that lately, so I've been putting it off. In terms of the physical books that I'm currently reading that are in arm's reach, we have River Monsters by Jeremy Wade, because I love the show, and I mean, there's a book version, so why not? I'm also reading The Little Prince, which I've been wanting to read for years, and I found a copy at an op shop for $1, so of course I bought it. I'm maybe a third of the way in. Yeah, it's been really cute. I'm pretty sure I cried while I was reading this, but it's really cute. Another book that I'm reading is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I have read a few pages, like, oh yeah, like I'm on page 3 and I've already cried to this book. I am a big crier, like in my daily life, but also when I read. So yeah. And lastly, I don't know if this counts as reading because I like read a page maybe every few months, but that is Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I like to read classics and like old books, generally old books that are kind of targeted towards children. I don't know if this really is. This copy definitely is because it has like drawings in it. But it's one of those books where like it'll be like a rainy day and I'll come and settle in on my armchair and read it. But yeah, so I am definitely reading a lot of books at the moment. The thing is, I haven't finished a book in a long time. So I haven't actually finished a book for a long time, which is fine. I'll get there eventually. My Goodreads challenge, however, is suffering because of that. So for my Goodreads challenge, I set my goal at 50 books. I'm currently on 24. I am 1 book behind, which is fine. I know I can catch that up easily. If you'd like to follow my Goodreads, I guess it'll be linked below, along with my Storygraph, because I'm trying to stop using Goodreads, but I'm still learning Storygraph, so I'm using both at the moment. So I've done the mid-year book freakout tag, I've told you what I'm currently reading, and now I would like to share my mid-year wrap-up. Honestly, I'm mostly doing this right now because it's really hard to do a full wrap-up at the end of the year. Like, it takes a long time to do. So let me open up my Goodreads. Let's get to it. Also, I'm not gonna grab like physical books for this part because we're speed running anyway, so it's fine. At the very start of the year, like literally like 2 days into the year, I read The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is the series that got me into reading. There's a whole story behind that I might tell one day. But I was on a holiday with my parents. We were like staying at this resort. It was really nice. And I got a migraine. So I like couldn't do anything. I was in a dark room. But a couple hours in, I was feeling all right enough to have sound playing. If you've ever had a migraine, you may have experienced the light sensitivity and like sound sensitivity. For me, light sensitivity will stay with me like for days, but I generally can listen to music or anything fairly fast into the process of feeling better. Once I've had my medication, like things start to improve, and I was really bored because like my mind was like, no, I'm fine, let's go, but my body was like, please, I can't do it. So I went on Spotify and listened to The Hunger Games. If you didn't know, a bunch of audiobooks are on Spotify. That's also how I experienced, I didn't read it, I listened to it, The Raven Cycle. So just a little tip, fun fact for you there. I then listened to Catching Fire, which is my favorite in the Hunger Games series. I'm so sorry for my cat's bell again. She likes to wander around. Hi, honey. I actually am gonna reread The Hunger Games again. I usually try not to reread it more than once a year, but I'm going to. I'm gonna rewatch the movies and then reread the books. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really a fan of Mockingjay. We now have a friend. She wanted a cuddle. So yeah, I'm gonna rewatch the Hunger Games movies and then reread the books, so then I can read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Is that what it's called? Yes. I've been really hesitant to read it because I feel like it kind of glorifies and apologizes for Snow. I'm not really into that, but my mind just went blank. But I think it was Lena Norms did a video reading the book and really gave me like a different outlook on it. She was talking about the kind of climate side of it, and so I was very intrigued, and I want to reread the series and the prequel with that in mind. I then read Instant Karma, which I have already discussed, and because I'm me, I reread The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. I love those books. I don't know how many times I can talk about Cassandra Clare in one video, but I reread the books. They were great. As always, I'm still very much in love with Will and Jem. So I reread The Infernal Devices, and then I reread Chain of Gold because Chain of Iron was coming out. So there was a reason for all those rereads. I then read Cemetery Boys, which I've talked about, and then I read Chain of Iron. Again, I've talked about it already, just filling in the timeline here. I then started the Grisha trilogy. It took me a while to read that, but I got through it eventually and had a great time. I then reread Red, White and Royal Blue. I'm pretty sure I reread it more than once in that time, but I've kind of told myself I can't update it on Goodreads every time I read it because it's my comfort read and I listen to it to fall asleep a lot of the time. So I've reread that book like upwards of 30 times. It's embarrassing. I then read The Raven Boys, which was a reread, followed by Lady Midnight, another reread. Then I went through the 4 volumes of Heartstopper that are currently out. I then listened to The Dream Thieves and Blue Lily Lily Blue. That's hard to say. The next book I read was one that I haven't mentioned, and I feel like I should have mentioned by now, and that is The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert. Colbert? I'm so sorry for butchering that name. I loved it. I have never heard anybody talking about it, but I was on Spotify just looking at audiobooks and it was there and I gave it a listen and it was great. Yeah, you can definitely tell that it's one of those books that was kind of born from that time in our lives when politics was doing the thing. I know politics is something that like is endless and it's going to keep happening. We're going to have these big crises over and over again. But I find whenever a big election is coming up, we get a few books that are about elections. Red, White and Royal Blue, for example, it's always talked about as like the romance and stuff, but the thing that got me about that book the first time I read it was the political side of it. The fact that it's escapism for the 2016 election, I guess. Just kind of imagining what could have happened. Oh, I can't think of it. I'm gonna have to reread it now. I've talked about it. I'm gonna have to reread it. Words are hard. Oh my god. Moving on, I then read The Raven King. I've talked about it. I'm not talking about it again. The latest book that I finished is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I can tell you now, the next book I'm going to finish is probably going to be Carry On, and then Lord of Shadows. I need to reread The Cursed Child within the next month because I'm going to see The Cursed Child. So I think that's all I have for you today. This is a long video and I'm dreading editing it, but thank you so much for watching. My social media links are below. I am some variation of the Isabella Louise on all platforms. They're all linked below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe because I quit my job and have a lot of time to make videos now. I'm gonna talk about that in a separate video. But yeah, thank you if you've made it this far. I hope you're having a great day, and if you're not, I hope it gets better. I'll see you next time. Bye. Jesus, that was a long video. Oh my god, I've been filming forever. Ah, it's the middle of the year. Ah! Oh my god, it's the middle of the year. I'm nearly 21. I need to go.